very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome all the esteemed guests and our delegates who are gathered here with us today on day 2 of UPSKILL 2021, an evening full of entertainment, insight, and many more. IEEE Young Professionals is the ideal network for young graduates who wants to elevate their professional image, interact with peers locally, and give back to their community. IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, in collaboration with IEEE Sri Lanka section, introducing new IEEE Region 10 Young Professionals UPSKILL Sri Lanka 2021 to initiate professional development activities for young professionals and also to provide a platform for us to enhance our soft skills for a successful career. So today we are here to light a spark in your career path. UPSKILL 2021 is all set to kick off on its second and final day with an exciting and knowledge-filled lineup arranged just for you all. Once again, I heartily invite you and encourage everyone to stay with us to gain knowledge and enjoy the session. To start off today's proceedings, I would like to cordially invite Dr. Akila Wijetunga, the chairperson of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, to welcome the gathering. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Akila Wijetunga onto the spotlight. The virtual round of applause. Over to you, Dr. Akila.
Welcome you all. I hope you can hear me well. So it's a great pleasure to see all these people here who are doing a wonderful job in the organizing committee, as well as I would like to thank all the speakers who joined us today and all the participants. I hope this event, you had the first day and I hope you enjoyed it well. Coming to the second part of the program, you will be focusing on how to improve yourself by the experiences shared by these experts from each field as the guest speakers, which can be one of the learning points for you, which you can have it as a, you can apply it for your life and your career, and also it will be a good experience for you to share any questions you have with them and clarify anything that you want to do. And talking about young professionals, it's kind of best platform to give you the opportunity to move ahead from the undergraduates to the graduates, and then you become a professional. And we would like to fill that gap between the skills you want to gather when you come out from the university and going to the professional life. There will be some capabilities that you are looking at. So we, as young professionals, we always try to cater that requirement from our side. And I hope this is one of the good platforms that we wanted to do. And I would like to thank the organizing committee, and also hope you will be there for us for future events as well. And let's move to today's proceedings with the committee as well. Thank you very much for having me in the opening.
Thank you, Dr. Akila, for the warm welcome and for addressing the audience with precious words as we begin day 2 of UPSKILL 2021. Now, I would like to invite Supun Hansika, representing the organizing committee, to brief about the evening's program plan.
Good evening, everyone. The following is the schedule for day 2 of UPSKILL Sri Lanka 2021. The event will begin with a panel discussion aimed at imparting the knowledge and engineers' ethics, duties, and professionalism. Secondly, to entertain and freshen up the day, there will be an entertainment session. Following that, we will be taking a walk down a memory lane as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka. Last but not least, the program includes a workshop that will reframe the notion of management for sustainable development for upskilling. And finally, we will be concluding the day with the most highly anticipated moment of the evening, which is none other than the announcement of the winners for the networking session of day 1. Litma, over to you.
Thank you, Supun, for that. Now let us move on to the first segment of today's lineup. Today, we invited two panelists in Upskill 2021 to discuss ways to enhance the knowledge of young professionals regarding ethics, management skills, and social responsibility. Joined with us today to moderate the discussion is another eminent guest. Without further ado, let me introduce the moderator for the segment. He is the co-founder at Yuga and currently works as a project manager at Celex Engineering Private Limited. He also serves as an IEEE Task Force member of Input-Output Standard Development in Utility Automation Systems Study Group. He has also served as the Regional Student Representative of IEEE Region 10 for 2 years, as well as the Chairman of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka in the year 2016-2017. Without limiting his volunteering only to IEEE, his experience expands as the chairman of the Gavel Club of University of Moratuwa, which is an affiliation to Toastmasters International in the year 2013-2014, and also as a presenter and a reporter in Asura FM, Max TV, and VFM. Please welcome the moderator for the segment, Mr. Pasan Petiagoda, with a virtual round of applause.
Well, I was struggling a little with the background. I hope it comes to you this way nicely. It's always my pleasure to be the moderator today for this panel discussion on ethics, responsibilities, and professionalism of an engineer, organized by the IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka. Now, it comes to a wide discussion when we talk about ethics, responsibilities, and professionalism of an engineer. And I saw a couple of flyers and advertising material going on, to which a lot of people has responded that they would like to listen to these two great speakers we have today. Now, let me take the privilege of introducing the two panelists to you before we start the discussion. Let me start with Dr. Chandika Vikramatilaka. Dr. Vikramatilaka holds a doctorate in surface engineering and material science from the University of Hertfordshire, UK. Having had his education at St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, Dr. Chandika left Sri Lanka in 1992 for his higher studies in the United Kingdom. He graduated with honors in 1996 and in manufacturing systems engineering. He then continued his postgraduate education to obtain his doctorate in 2000 from the same university, which was funded by 3M and DERA, the Defense Evaluation Research Agency in United Kingdom. Since 2011, Dr. Chandika has worked in Sri Lanka as Alumex PLC as the head of production till 2015, and then currently working as the general manager of automation in MAS Intimates. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Chandika Vikramatilaka to the panel. The next panelist today we have is Mr. Ranishka Vimalasena. Ranishka Vimalasena is an energy specialist from the Asian Development Bank at South Pacific Regional Office in Fiji, covering energy sector operations in 6 Pacific island nations. Before moving into Fiji, he managed Asian Development Bank energy sector operations in Sri Lanka. Ranishka has 17 years of professional experience, mainly in the energy sector, but also not only in the energy sector, but also in project management and industrial engineering in Sri Lankan conglomerates such as Hales and MAS Holdings. He holds a master's degree in energy planning and policy from University of Technology in Sydney, Australia, and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Mr. Ranishka Vimalasena. Now, let me just spend a second to make sure that Dr. Anishka and sorry, Dr. Chandika and Mr. Anishka can hear me, just to make sure that we are good to start the discussion.
Hi, Pasan. Chandika here. I can hear you clearly.
Perfect. And I can also see Ranishka, if you could unmute. Yeah, perfect. All right.
That's right.
Let's go ahead.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. We welcome both of you to the panel discussion as well as the rest of the gathering. Now, let me move into a very short introduction before moving into our panel discussion. We are making the topic today, ethics, responsibilities, and professionalism of an engineer. Now, in the previous discussions, we were thinking that the two speakers will discuss about the two ends, but as and when required, they will cross their borders because both of them are experienced and professionals, senior professionals in the field. Let me first start with Dr. Chandika, his first session. He now looking at the history of Sri Lanka, we see if you take globally from Wright brothers to Steve Jobs, there were people who changed the way we live. And Sri Lanka, I found two rhyming names from Dr. Kulasinghe from Precast Concrete to Mr. Harsha Subasinghe, who designed and built the fastest electric supercar in Sri Lanka, the Vega. Sri Lanka has been hovering around innovation throughout the period. And we also know that Sri Lankan apparels and particularly software industries have primarily marked our emblem of quality globally. So we know that we have been in the edge of innovation, at least in certain areas. And talking to Dr. Chandika, what I realized is that he is more keen in bringing out in points on how engineers could be a good manager in this globally demanded business. Dr. Chandika, I cordially invite you to start with your introduction to your topic today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I hope everybody can hear me. And thanks, Pasan, for the introduction. And I think everybody knows my background now. So basically, so I was in a lot of project management. I worked for a Dutch company for 9 years. Worked in France, Belgium, Spain, Oslo. Then I was in the US for about 3.5 years. And my next job was in Shanghai for Terminal 3. So this was all to do with airport baggage handling systems. So it's very complicated systems because you're actually connecting all the airport services like ATC to fire to emergency services, security, and then we also have landside and airside, so immigration protocols. So it's very, very complicated. So the intelligence and electrical systems also connected to all the airline operations, in terms of baggages coming in, going out, and also for seasonal requirements where we go skiing and summer holidays, it gets very, very busy. So I was in that kind of industry for a long time in the UK, and then I had a similar experience in USA in parcel and postal, working for the largest distribution center in the world. At that time, I was a contract manager and also a project manager. So I was handing about on $80 million worth of control panels connected to all our kind of deliveries and supply chain. So we had to work with like big boys like Sumitomo Motors in Japan, where we had over 5,000 meters of conveyors, high-speed conveyors, backtrack systems, destinated coded vehicles, these kind of stuff like AGVs, things like this, very, very complicated systems. Then from there, I came to Sri Lanka because I always had a passion to come to Sri Lanka and help the community, develop the community. And then I worked for, because my PhD was in aluminium, I worked for Alumex for a while, and then came to MAS, was in automation, and this year I was promoted to Director of Innovation for Intimates. So I really enjoyed here, and there's a lot of scope. There's very, very good talent. And this is what I also do to try and develop the talent in Sri Lanka, sharing our experiences, and encouraging young engineers to think differently, get full exposure to the breadth of the opportunities in the region as well as globally. So this is my focus area today, Hasan.
Thank you so much. Then, Mr. Ranishka, shall we give a briefing regarding your focus area today as to what we will be discussing? Because talking to your path, what I realized is that you will be more focusing towards ethics and values which would go beyond the professional practice. Looking at the history again, I remember that DJ Vimala Surendra, who actually was forced not to go into hydroelectricity and was kind of humiliated by the time, the way I have heard. He later decided to go into the parliament, or the Mantrana Sabha as we know those days, from Ratnapura area, and worked selflessly because he really wanted to establish hydroelectricity in Sri Lanka, and that have really benefited this whole nation. So we are a nation coming from those people who have worked selflessly and obviously beyond the limits of engineer, as just the technical role of an engineer to serve the nation. I think your area comes something around how an engineer could be ethical and at the same time more professional beyond just numbers and the calculations. Mr. Ranishka, it's time for you to give an introduction to your presentation today.
Thank you, Pasan. I think, and thank you for the introduction, and also thank you for inviting me for the panel discussion. Pasan, I think you brought a very valid point about engineer Vimal Surendra's insights and his thinking, vision, and how he built the entire hydroelectricity in Sri Lanka. Now, so people like Vimal Surendra inspired us to become engineers. For me, for an example, my uncle, my mother's elder brother, he was the inspiration for me to become an engineer. I remember I used to see his slide ruler and things like that, all these apparatus that he had, because those days they did not have the calculators. So looking at those, I got inspired to become an engineer. I'm sure, and if I asked this question from the participants today, how many of you had the ambition to become an engineer when you were a school kid? I'm sure at least about 50% of engineers who are today had that ambition. The reason could have been different, but you probably would have had that ambition, and it could be due to what you have seen or what you have heard, or probably you have seen the things that engineer do, or you would have loved the work an engineer does. As I said, for me, it was my uncle. Now, the question here is, when you actually become an engineer, will you live the dream of an engineer, like engineer Vimal Surendra did? Now it's our turn to live that dream. Because the most important thing is our decisions can affect other people's lives. So today we will discuss more about this. Now either you have become an engineer or you are about to become an engineer, and let's see how we can live the dream of an engineer. Over to you, Pasan.
Thank you so much. Interesting the way you have used the slide ruler, because I have seen that but never used that. It would have been an interesting tool. We'll have a chat about that later. Dr. Chandika, now let me turn towards you. In a prior discussions, we were talking about how an engineer could be carefully translated into a successful manager. And shall we discuss a little about that further as to how do you think, what's your perspective on transforming an engineer to a successful manager?
Yes. So very good question, Pasan. And I think in Sri Lanka, if you look at the corporate sector, it's actually driven by marketing heads, HR heads, and finance heads. As a culture in this region, that has been the norm. The reason, when I observe with my experiences abroad, is that we are heavily like a people-oriented, service-oriented kind of a culture, right? And that's changing very fast. Technology is coming fast, competitive landscape, lead times, quality, everything. So for companies to survive going forward in Sri Lanka, we have to focus a lot on productivity, right? We have to focus a lot on quality. We have to focus a lot on innovation, right? New things, whether it's agriculture, pharma, tire manufacturing, apparel, whatever it is. And because of that, we need to bring much more standards into our companies, right? From electrical standards, mechanical standards, etc. And then from there, we have to have traceability in our manufacturing, right? And with that, we also need to kind of start building syllabuses from our universities, even from juniors, from schools. Also we have to look at that as well. So the whole landscape is changing in a really drastic way. And with that, we need to have engineers in leaderships, right? Because if you don't have engineers in leadership, the finance folks and the marketing folks, they're great. They're very important part of the business. But now to actually have an upper hand, to have a competitive edge, we need to have engineers in management. And this is an area I have gone through personally. And I think Ranishka really mentioned a very important thing about, having that passion, right, to be an engineer. And, that inquisitiveness, always to break things, do something different, challenge something, predict something, forecast something. That's very, very important. And please don't lose touch, even if you go into the management areas. I mean, I still, at least once a week, I go and sit half a day in the workshop, seeing what the young team is doing, because I learn a lot from them. They bring all these new things, and being in innovation, I allow them to burn things and break things and do lots of experiments, because that's how engineering mindset. They'll have fun as well as come up with new things. So with that sense, the engineering manages a very, very key role. But I often find that engineering managers in engineering who come to these posts struggle because they are not exposed to the other areas of the business, right? So what I would suggest is that from a young early age, to try and when you're getting your experience, to try and focus on your core area. But also, whenever you get an opportunity, you should take that opportunity to learn what's happening in other departments. And that is just within the company. So I'll give you an example, like, when I was working in Haley's, in Alumex, we had some issues, and, the HR, the head of HR had to leave. But then, I was in production, and, I had like more than 1,000 staff coming into work every day to run our machines. This was predominantly aluminum extrusion presses, these big presses, and then of course powder coating, finishing operations, etc. And suddenly we didn't have anybody to do HR. So then I asked my boss at that time, we need to get somebody in quick because otherwise I'm going to struggle, and my team is going to struggle. The production team is going to struggle. Then he said, it'll take at least 3 to 6 months, and we want to make sure we get someone very good. And then he said, Chandika, why don't you take it over and run? So then I got a shock. I have never, managed HR before. But, I took the challenge and saying, it can't be that hard, at the end of the day. So I brought Sanjay, was my plant manager. And I said, Sanjay, you got to help me out here. That, you have worked with me for a couple of years. You know my style. I trust you to do this. So I'm going to elevate you to do my role. And I'm always there in the company, and I can help you on a weekly, daily basis. But I'm going to run HR for a few months. So then I took that opportunity and I ran it. I went in, the little bit of lean knowledge I know, I applied it. I reduced from 4 signatures for an approval to like 2, right? We changed the structure, everything. And then eventually, we actually hired a HR guy from another reputed company in Sri Lanka. And so when he actually joined, everything was fully cleaned up. The structures were changed. It was very smooth, transparent, speed in terms of all the HR matters, and less kind of touch points, So, and then I came back to engineering. So now when I deal with these kind of other departments, it gives you a really good understanding of how they work. And even when you're in, leadership, taking decisions, these experiences really help you, because you will give decisions so that, they'll have winning decisions. There'll be less risk in rolling out. So these are very simple experience I shared, but there were lots of incidents. And, I have done planning like that. I've taken lots of things. And even like you take me and throw me in a new area, even a new like industry, you should be able to quickly pick it up and then have your core kind of knowledge, your engineering knowledge, and then your like soft skills, as well as your inquisitiveness, challenging, those skills, and you need to apply them. And also, now the latest, as you go up the ladder, is like your HR side comes out a lot. And then suddenly you feel that all these engineers are backing you, because we understand how they feel, right? Because engineers very rarely can actually explain to leadership what their problem is. And and I actually go to the shop floor. I go to the needle point or wherever, where the machine broke down, what happened, what are the causes, give me all the information. So they learn with me. And then I tell them, take the risk and you make the decision. So this is the environment we need to really kind of create, Pasan, Ranishka, and of course the audience here. And take risks, be bold, go into other areas, always have your core, don't forget, it might reduce a percentage, when you're a fresh graduate, you're about 80-90%, you really love, okay, within electrical engineering or electronic engineering, there's a certain area or software, something, keep that, always learn, get your certifications, move on. But then as you get older, when you come to the late 30s, mid 40s, that kind of core area percentage will reduce, but that's your really core contribution to the industry, to your company, to the community. And then you build these other skills, because that's how, I mean, eventually everybody in this audience here should be a CEO, right? I mean, that is my dream. That's why I keep coming here.
That was pretty interesting, but let me put it into a different perspective, just to dig it a little. Now, I see you have obtained a doctorate in engineering. Now, if I ask the other way around, how useful it is, or just for the sake of question, how useful do you think a person who has a doctorate in engineering moving into an HR department to rescue the HR department? Well, somebody can think, just for the question, but couldn't somebody think that it is a waste of time where this person has actually excelled in engineering, is now doing HR? What do you think about that?
Actually, I like it. Like MAS does some crazy things. So in HR today, in MAS Intimates, I have an aircraft engineer who's a DGM in HR, right?
Okay.
And I like it, because I know that if I'm struggling with some resources, I could get this guy Niloshan to come and help us. But it's really great, their kind of methodology, the interview process. They put engineering practices into that process, and that's what really, they understand digital fast. They understand, how to actually communicate with a lot of engineering people. So even like now, I mean, we have lots of DJMs and GMs in our company, but I really prefer, and even the engineers really prefer, to go to Nilo, because he understands. So I think it's really great that we have more engineering people all over, and sometimes as you grow, you also become more comfortable in other areas, and then you can pick up things and contribute. And I think that flavor, that agility, that different mindset is that the strength of your leadership, your management, which you can actually contribute to progress in this competitive world.
All right. Thank you so much. So I think that really pointed out the fact that even though you are an engineer, your hardcore core is engineering, having that flexibility and the ability to switch would really help. Even though you have a PhD in engineering, that doesn't really matter. If the company needs, if the society needs, maybe we should be able to switch and do what the requirement of the time, instead of letting sticking to the hardcore whatever we have learned. I think that's a really good take home from your speech. Thank you so much, Dr. Chandika. Now let me turn to Mr. Ranishka Vimalasena. Now, in the prior discussion with Mr. Vimalasena, we figured out that we will discuss today the professionalism and social responsibility. Where would we like to start, Ranishka?
Pasand, before that, let me actually kind of build up on what Dr. Chandika mentioned. Like,
sure.
engineers probably can build ourselves to a larger or a broader position or to a larger responsibility, because probably what Dr. Chandika was trying to say is the thinking, the logical thinking, or the way that we structure ourselves, whether the way that we look at a problem actually helps us move further. And then if you don't use that, it's probably a waste of our resources and the skill. So that's what Dr. Chandika was trying to say. Why I build up on Dr. Chandika is because my kind of area of coverage today is, if you are a hardcore engineer, how would you touch that? So not to contradict what Dr. Chandika said, but just to make it very clear. Now, Pasan, the professional excellence or the social responsibility or professionalism of an engineer, what is expected is, I have a very simple quote or way of work. Know what you do and do what you know. Now, what we try to do is mostly trying to do what we don't know, and that's where you lose out the excellence part of it. Now, if we are trying to be a professional, and we should work on what we know, and also on the other hand, we should know what we do, 100%, and not even your boss in the organization you work shouldn't be able to question you on your judgment and your ability for taking decisions. This may not apply initially because your boss would probably have more than your experience, knowledge, and skill. But at least your decision or your judgment shouldn't be questioned that way.
Okay.
Right? So your professional excellence means that we should do what we know, and we should not move away from what we don't know. If you are a bridge engineer, and we should know the expertise of being a bridge engineer. And if you're an electrical engineer, energy specialist, and we should know what we do. For an example, there was this discussion about now we as ADB, we do a lot of infrastructure project. Now, but when it comes to energy projects, if I'm an energy specialist, obviously I know what we are doing. But when it comes to the justification of economic or financial benefits in terms of economics or financial, we don't try to do that. We try to have always an economist or financial specialist to do that assessment and the justification. And another point of being professional excellence is as engineers, we usually try to think about sustainability of a project. Sustainability is long-term sustainability. It could be financial and economic sustainability, but also on the other hand, social and environmental sustainability. And we shouldn't be thinking that, okay, we are environmentalists and we know everything. So always try to have environmentalist helping you in this making this decision. So, so the basic point is know what you do and do what you know. And when it comes to the social responsibility side aspects of it, this is not a political discussion, but let me take a recent consideration which was there everywhere in the news and in the social media. The famous this jogging track in Parakram Sound.
Okay. Okay.
The issue was whether the planning engineers or the designing engineers had a adequate public consultation or stakeholder consultation before making that decision. And if they have done that, probably you don't have to go through all these nuisance at the end just to trying to justify the project. And if you have done that, probably you would have identified whether this is a required project or not. Another example is when we were doing the Mana wind power project with CEB. The amount of consultation that we have done during the initial planning stage was immense. And it ran to about 3-4 years of studies and consultation. That helped the implementation engineers of CEB to implement the project within the given 2 years period of time. But if you haven't done that, you run into a lot of issues during the implementation stage, right? And so you run into other issues. That's one side. And let's imagine, okay, you become an engineer who is implementing a project. Let's take a transport or road expansion or road widening project. It's our responsibility to minimize the public nuisance during the construction and think about the health, safety, welfare of the public. It happened to me about 10-11 years ago when I was coming after going somewhere out. When I was trying to come on my way back home, I live in Kotte. My by road that stretch was closed because there was road construction and there was no notice given prior. Fortunately, my road has a back entrance.
Okay.
Because of that, I was able to go home that day. But there was no information shared. And if this had happened in a developed country like Australia or Europe, that would have been end of the story of the project engineer, right? So it's our responsibility as professional. So we take care of the stakeholders and the public and their health, safety, welfare during the construction or the implementation stage, or even during the planning stage. Couple of more things. Our principles and values. Let me come back to one experience which I had.
Please.
I would not like to mention where it was. I was working in Pasan.
Yeah, that's okay. Please
Sure.
go ahead.
Yeah. So I was running a small business within the company. I was not getting enough sales initial stage because it was a newly set up small business unit. Now, the advice I was receiving from the higher management was try to attract the suppliers and people who get your business services. Try to mingle with them, give them some support and all of this, right? And during Christmas hampers and all of that. I hated that. I did not do that as a principal. My boss was always saying, you don't listen to what I say. But then at the end, after about 2-3 years, we had the results. And then he was always complimenting me on not trying to do these things. So it's live your principles, integrity, stick to your integrity, respect each other and honor each other, each profession and each person.
I actually have a question here, Anishka. Yeah. Now, again, for the sake of question, but I myself had run projects, so we know that companies always push us to speed up, push us to make profits. Are you really making a practical point in this discussion where you say that a person working in a private organization can live up to his own standards, and instead of the given profit margins and the deadlines? Is it really a practical point you are trying to make?
Well, very valid question, Prasan. Now, when you work in an organization, you have to live within the framework of the company objective, or could be even beyond the company objective, and the coherence within the organization, the culture within the organization. Now, for some reason, for a very valid reason, we have to meet the broader objectives of your organization. So you as an engineer, you make a decision or you make a judgment or you provide your opinion or you review a project and you provide your professional opinion about it. But the company objective could be beyond that, a broader objective. So let me take a country, a larger, broader objective of a country. For an example, a greenfield highway project. Now, you as the design engineer or the planning engineer, you build based on the required traffic and the planning. But the country could probably have a different opinion or the larger objective that, okay, we try to develop the country such a way that because of that, we expect more traffic. But in your professional judgment, you could say that what is required is a 2-lane highway.
Okay.
But because of the country longer term objective, you could probably, or you would be required to build a 3-way or 3-lane or 4-lane highway. So something like that. So that applies to your organization framework as well. Sometimes you will have to work within the objective of the company. And if it is not the ethical or responsible objectives, probably it's time for you to leave the company.
Oh, why I asked that question is because, well, honestly, I'm a fan of Seconds from Disaster in National Geographic Channel, if you have been a fan of, and that is about air crash investigation. Now, most of the air crash incidents we have seen in the world, as I have seen in National Geographic, are because they were trying to keep the aircraft in the air rather than on time on the ground without spending adequate time for maintenance. That's why I was particularly asking that question, because sometimes a company might see it as a really profitable way of doing this with a couple of shortcuts. But I have seen in most of those where there has been engineers who has expressed their concerns for that we should not do that. But the companies have done that and ended up in disasters. So that is a particular reason why I wanted to listen to you. What would be your opinion? Thank you so much, Ranishka. And turning back to Dr. Chandika, I was about to, let me at this point invite our audience to post their questions on the chat while we are going on this discussion, so that I should be able to extract them from the chat and present, or else if you can, of course, speak up and present your question as well. Dr. Chandika, you were talking about an engineer being a really good manager, a creative, flexible person. Now, we would like to know what the global stance of this, because you have worked in a lot of companies. We know that Sri Lankan companies, you were a really good example in Alumex. Is it the same situation in global companies as well? Or on the other hand, how this flexibility, how this agility, how these management skills would serve you in a global platform? Because we are talking about managers in a global level.
A good question, Prasan, and actually continuing with what Ranishka was mentioning, like, cost to the society and then that importance of our decisions. I just want to give you a small case study, which I personally kind of experienced. So I was a young engineer in the kind of 2004, 2005 time in England, and we were 400 engineers. We had like 18 tier 1 projects. And this was a $6.8 billion Terminal 5 project. And, our main program was affected by 9 months because we were constructing a satellite building. And if you look at the Heathrow area, there's M25, London Orbital. And then with that, there's a thing called 2 twin rivers, right? And the rivers are flowing on the side. And we had to do the construction, and nobody, out of these 400 engineers and the management, had actually looked at the environmental impact. And apparently this particular species of fish at that time had the breeding season, and there was a huge protest from the local community not to divert the rivers during this time. So do you know that British Airports Authority and British Airways and various other companies spent, paid us 400 engineers were paid for 9 months until this breeding season was finished to divert the rivers. So, this is the, but in Sri Lanka, that will never happen, right? I mean, we wouldn't do anything for a fish, right? So I'm just trying to give some examples for these youngsters to see the difference. So when I was in the US, I was doing engineering contracts and supply chain contracts on, motors to steelworks, earthworks, all sorts of stuff. And, in the US, they give a lot of minority, right? The less able, as well as military personnel, retired military person, and women in entrepreneurship, right? So when I have like, $80 million worth of contracts to dish out, I need to at least, I have a KPI of allocating that to like 20%. So I used to like look at all these contracts and actually try and tell these guys, can you, I really like your approach and everything, but can you actually register your company in your wife's name or something like that? Because I need to get these numbers up, right? But, as a, engineer from Europe or from Sri Lanka, these are all new things, and we need to have that adaptability. I think Ranish also mentioned that we have to kind of, be agile to adapt to the situation, and that I think it comes within us. And then and we had a similar thing in Barcelona project. So when you actually construct these big conveyor systems to airport buildings, there's a thing called a dry condition, right? So if you don't get it in a dry condition, we cannot kind of install. But then, usually, you have the earthworks, the tunneling, the trains, all these superstructures, substructures, all these guys come, and right at the end only, when the building is prepared, we go in, right? And all these delays come, and then we are being paid like a premium to kind of squeeze our plan, right, to meet the deadline. Because in Europe, the air traffic control is like really tight. So, if you say you're starting 1st of March, you have to, because 6 months before that, the air traffic is planned with your capacity, right? Okay. So these are kind of things. So then we have to have the ability to have transparent to see what the other guys are up to, and then we have, Primavera and Artemis. These are big planning softwares. So as an engineer, I'm managing my team, but if you're not globally connected to these other parties and working cohesively with them, you're never going to work. I mean, this is an example in project management to meet these deadlines, right? And this is where sometimes when you're getting into engineering management, you need to understand the business, the impact and the connectivity and all that communication, frequent communication, understanding their constraints, abilities, very, very important. I mean, this is really, really important, and that'll be my advice. And on a global scale, on also community development is coming up strong in my current role now, because I'm in MAS, and MAS is expanding 40% in the next 3 to 4 years, and we are all expanding abroad because now we are moving from a Sri Lankan kind of company to a kind of a global multinational, and then we have to adapt quickly to those regions. So I'll give you an example now. So I'm actually starting this year. I started this new thing called Women in Technology, right? So I see this even in Sri Lanka. Like when I look at the female participation in our engineering batches, is less than 5%, right? And then we have 85,000. We have 100,000 workforce with about 85 to 90,000 females in our business. But when you come to our executives, an engineering workforce, it's really poor. So how do we do? So it's actually, I'm connected to lots of global organizations in Germany, in US, and even in Japan, and they're helping me out because they went through this in the 1950s and 60s, right? And now I'm trying to do this program between Kenya, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. And I'm working with the German embassy, the GIZ, to actually help us how we could get women in technology, right? And this is like very simple things. You know, today we take a team member in a apparel factory just to hold the fabric during stitching, right? If the machine breaks down, she raises her hands and waits for the mechanic. But I said, guys, the mechanic is only walking around with a flat screwdriver and a Phillips screwdriver. Why can't we train the team member to do that? You know, the team member can cook at home, look after kids. Multitasking is much better than the males, right? So why can't we train them? So we started this program. So now we are going into technicians, automation technicians, etc. So this is also that engineering manager responsibility, not just focusing on your quality of your work, but looking at community development, looking at how we can, you know, do better to this world, right? And also the common participation, very, very important. So this is my kind of globalization. And also like, even in Sri Lanka now, you know, I mean, so I have opportunities for young engineers in Bangladesh, India, Kenya, and Indonesia at the moment. And then our engineers are sometimes, you know, talking to me and selecting countries. I said, guys, don't do that. You know, you're getting an opportunity, just go somewhere, because it's more than just engineering, right? When you go to that country, your adaptability, that's like 40 to 60%. Your core knowledge will always be there and will be useful. So see how, you know, take the job, go for 1 or 2 years, get a great experience, right? And come back or move to another country. So this is like very, very important. And even Kenya is even worse than even this region. So we need to help. How can we, like, you know, culturally their fingers are very big, bigger than this region, right? So the needlepoint kind of activities that they're struggling for, like intimate wear, for example. So then how can, as engineers, change the workstation and the operation so that we can accommodate this culture, this ethnic background, right? I mean, that is the contribution to the economy in a global scale. And this is why how we can actually elevate this industry to a global scale. Thanks, Pasan.
Thanks so much. Now, when Dr. Chandika is actually on a propaganda to promote this sort of like flexibility and agility, while we know that these sort of discussions are everywhere, we frequently see that in social media. Coming that to mind, I was thinking of asking from Ranishka, what do you think the responsibility of a professional when it comes to the open media like social media, because now we see a lot of access to information, we see a lot of access to people at the same time, because your voice is really heard. Now, what do you think as a professional, what should be your limits and what should be your behavior on that?
Thanks, Pasan, for asking that question. I think a very timely and a valuable question in the current context, because you see people behave in the social spectrum as they know everything, right? I mean, stick to the specialty that you know, and if you see something that you really want to comment on the social media in that framework, it's your duty and the responsibility to give your opinion and the feedback and comment on that. But if it is something else, which is, okay, you may have an opinion, you have some experience, you have some information about it, but probably it's not your duty to comment on it. And then don't fall into that category of trying to be the person who knows everything. Because many others, like we used to look at our older generation of engineers, many young budding engineers or who wants to be engineers probably are looking at you. And so it's our duty to inspire the young children to become an engineer, and we are the people who sets the standards, right? So try to limit to the frame that what I started at the beginning: know what you do and do what you know. So that applies to your social framework as well. One thing I think I should mention about your social and the personal presence. Now, for some reason, when you look at a doctor, that you identify him as a doctor. For some reason, that is clearly visible. The engineers may not probably have that social presence. Like when you see an engineer, others would not recognize you as an engineer. It could be the way that we dress, it could be the way that we speak, our communication skills. And Dr. Chandika mentioned at the beginning why the finance and the financiers and the marketeers are the CEOs of the companies, not engineers. Not many of the engineers have become CEOs of the companies, probably because of personal presence. Invest time and money to build your personal presence. Your dresses, you may not be able to do just after your graduation because you have other commitments, requirements, but over time, try to build on that. And invest on building your communication and verbal and the basic discipline about, for an example, one thing that I see is engineers do not reply to the emails on time. Right? It takes many days to receive a response from an engineer. Have this basic discipline that when you receive an email, respond within 24 hours. If you can't give the full reply, at least acknowledge the email. Things like very, very simple things. And returning a call. And when you receive a call from somebody, have the courtesy to return the call. These will mold you to become a better person, not only as an engineer, but as a better person. Sorry to take this example. How many of us have gone to a doctor appointment and doctor not turning up on time? 95% of time we see that, right? And so we lose the respect for doctors for that matter. Similarly, engineers could lose the respect for what we do. So it's our responsibility and duty to uphold that responsibility. This is not a paid advertisement, Chandika. I started my career at MAS. MAS is one of the best place to bring you up in that social responsible mode. So if you get a chance, young engineers, talk to Dr. Chandika and try to get into MAS.
Thank you so much. Now, I think there's a very valid point that it's not the perspective you are trying to build on social media what actually makes you a professional, but the actual behavior you work that makes you a professional. Now, we would like to open up our flow to our participants so that you can come up with the questions you have. Of course, you can unmute you and speak, which we actually prefer. If you find it challenging, you can use the chat box. And we would like to hear from you because I'm sure after this discussion, you should have a lot of questions in your hands.
Thank you both. Like it's a good discussion. I would like to go with the question in verbal form. So as Dr. Chandika was telling, the less women in the tech industry. So I have seen the same scenario. Like when I see my batchmates who had good talents in their academic life, they won't move ahead with that. So even in the school side, we say good prefects and all the people who do take the lead of many things at the school, they don't go out and do the part. So do you think it's the cultural barrier for us we have here or something else that we don't take them out enough from the opportunities they are getting? What kind of problem we have?
Very good question, Akila. And I, in my observation, I believe we have to start with like from our grandparents and from our parents, from the community, from the schools, you know, the segregation. I'm doing a CSR project in Badulla, and I'm trying to encourage, you know, these, you know, anybody from 12 to 16 to take up engineering. And I see even like, they're scared to talk, they're scared to challenge. And, it's sad. And what we need to do is actually start from our courses and actually teaching our teachers, about, the science and the engineering. And it's a very, when you go abroad, like, we are like buddies, there's female pilots, there's female fighter pilots, even in India, right? So why can't we have that approach in Sri Lanka? And what I see is that even in MAS, like in the apparel industry, why are mechanics all male? I still can't understand. I have 600 mechanics at MAS Intimates, which is the largest SBU. And we have one female in our Koggala plant. So I can't figure it out. And so it's not like a, it's not like a Rolls-Royce, Olympus engine we are trying to repair, right? It's just a very simple motor, drive motor. There's some mechanism inside, and then, some adjustments to make. So how difficult is that? So I think we need to, I personally believe, I was so proud when I, logged on and did some search this morning about this session today, young professionals, right? It was beautiful. And that's my kind of, I'm in that age, I want to really help these youngsters. But, I would even spend more time if you said young female, engineers, or seriously. This is such a big thing. And it's there in this, because apparel is kind of, associated with kind of developing countries, right? And it's there in Bangladesh, in all these factories, it's there. So I need to do something for this world and for MAS to crack this code, and all the support I can get from you guys, I'll gladly take it, and I can participate free, voluntary, do whatever, even get funding from our brands, because my first 10 female mechanics I made, Victoria's Secret funded that as their kind of CSR program. And I just stood up, and nobody cannot relate, because they don't understand the engineering side, and they don't have the confidence to get up and tell your brands, in New York, that this is the plan and this is what we need to do. And we have to start there, Akila.
Hasan, may I add to Akila's question just a couple of points? Now, how many of you have seen the CEB or the LECO linesman being female in Sri Lanka? None, right? But in Bhutan, such a remote place, we have women linesmen going up the ladder and the pole and doing the maintenance. In Tonga, such a remote island in the Pacific, half of the crew, linesman crew or the repair crew, are women. So that's possible. It's not about the skill; it's about the mentality, and it's about the acceptance of the large organization and the community.
Thank you both. And I think IEEE Young Professionals are a really good example for that, because we have the chairman, chairman here. So we are really proud about that. Thank you so much. It's open for questions, and of course, it's time for another question.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I just have one question. It was a very enlightening session that we had today. So my question, either Ranishka or Dr. Chandra can answer. What are the key challenges that you have seen with the younger generation of engineers when it comes to responsibility assignment and the working towards the responsibilities? I would say, what do you think as the key challenges with the younger generation stepping out from the universities to the industry from the engineering perspective, whether there are any measures that from industry perspective, things that we can take on top of the responsibility line of things?
Anishka, you want to take that?
Chandra, please go ahead.
Okay, right. Very good question, Nuini, right? Yeah. Okay. So so basically, a couple of things. at the moment, I mean, I was a GM for automation like for 5 years, and I always believing in interns, right? And I'm not like kind of boasting here, but I used to get about 400 CVs a year to join the automation department because I raised the bar so high, right? Because we had the best facilities, I had every engineer, their KPI was to spend time with the juniors, right, with the interns, and no one will spend in any kind of organization. And because of that, that gave me, I used to hire like 10 to 12 interns every year, from mechatronics, electrical, electronic, even from some science backgrounds. And then through their kind of internship, I picked out the good ones, right? And then I because it's not like, guys, like when you put your CV is just a picture. It's absolutely nothing of who you are, right? And it's like, it's like telling, I play a lot of music, at home and stuff. And, how do you, see whether a musician is good or bad with a piece of paper? It's impossible, right? Engineering is just like that. It's all about proven ability. So I'll give you an example. I had a young girl who joined me from AIT, from Thailand. She came back to Sri Lanka. And then, so someone told me, Chandra, you're going to like this girl because she's like really practical. So I had the interview. And then I said, look, just tell me, tell me all the time you got your fingers dirty, right? And then she said, oh, my father had 3 motorcycles and I managed all 3, right? And then I asked about carburetors. She knew it because I'm a classic car and motorcycle enthusiast myself. She knew all about the chain adjustments. She knew all about, gear ratios to, all the adjustments in the steering column. And that's it. I didn't need to see her CV or ask anything. And she did really, really well. And then she got headhunted to go to Toyota back to Thailand. But, she spent 3 years with us. So that is, that's the confidence your engineering leadership is looking for in you. You go for an interview and say, 1, 2 questions, what is this project? I did this project at school, but it's more than a project in academia. What do you do at your free time? That's what matters. That really shows your passion, right? That really shows that, I'll give you another example. I'm taking some time here, but
That's perfectly all right. Please go ahead.
My 2 boys are spending a lot of time with my father passed away 7 years ago, with one of his classmates. So he's a pilot for Sri Lanka Air Force, and then he had 22,000 hours of flying. And I spent a lot of time with him because he has ratings for 56 different aircrafts. That's like crazy. He's a helicopter pilot, jet fighter pilot, trained in the UK at that time. And then he told my 10-year-old boy the other day that he has never gone to work. So like I got a shock. I was driving the car, we were going on some holiday. And then I said, Uncle Shira, what do you mean? He said, because flying is all I want to do. Okay. Right? And then I realized, then I realized when I go to MAS every day, is it what I always want to do? So that's fundamentally, what is your purpose and what is your desire? And then your everything, your knowledge, your interests, your community to go global, everything comes around you. So I want everybody to say that, I don't go to work. I'm going to do what I love to do. So that's something. And I don't see that in this stream of people who come. It's like their uncle has forced them to do engineering, and majority of the time, like parents, they want the females to do accountancy, marketing, something like that. And even the guys, like, I know mechanical engineers who can't change a tire in your car. Hello, like, what's going on here? And it's not just in Sri Lanka, this is globally, right? And then you get the extreme guys, who I just love to hang out with, but they are probably too much in their domain, but they are just, I have engineers like, we work on problems, on vision systems or something. And, there's some interference coming and the guy can't figure it out what's happening to his, his little experiment. And I know the guy just stayed the entire night in a workshop trying to figure this out. That's what I want. You can just call me and say, Chandika, I'm not coming tomorrow. I'm just burnt out. Fine. But that passion to solve a problem, the determination, he had even lied to his wife saying, that why he's not coming home, right? So I had to sort that out as well, right? But the thing is, that's how passionate they are. So always, like, even I can advise on a lot of things, but even finding your partners, make sure that your partners will support you in this journey. It's very, very important. And so get as much as practical experience under your belt when you get out of uni. So personal, just like a minute. When I was in England, I had an option of doing a 3-year state degree or a 4-year sandwich degree in 1994 at that time. And I selected the sandwich degree because I was like 17 years of age. And then, in the sandwich degree in Europe, in your 3rd year, you go out and work in industry. And with the summer, there's an opportunity of 15 months. So what I did was I actually did 9 months in England, 3 months in Berlin in Germany, and 3 months in Salisbury, South Australia, right? As a trainee engineer. That's why I'm now giving it back via MS to these youngsters, and they will cherish that for the rest of their lives. And I'm trying to do that now in our overseas plans as well, this internship program. And that's another reason why we can give so much opportunity to the sustenance of this industry. So I would strongly advise everybody to kind of, get your hands dirty, get down there, whatever. There's so many industries, whether it's Lodestar, Coca-Cola, Ceylon Tobacco, whatever it is, right? Haley's, whatever, just get your hands dirty at a young age and build your practical CV, right? Not your theoretical CV, because engineering, guys, it's all about putting something, and, unless you go into like heavy software programming, but even then, now every program, even the programming world is connected to devices, right? It's connected to the end user. So whether it's a car, motor, whatever it is. So please have that practical side under your belt and get that experience at a young age, and I can guarantee it'll never go wrong.
Thank you so much. And you are actually breaking down a fundamental myth, I guess, that a colorful CV, a nicely formatted and a well-filled CV would bring you the job. But you're like breaking it down and hammering on it, stating that it's actually the practical know-how you have actually come through is actually making what you are. Thank you so much. We have time for a few more questions. If we have any, we would like to give time to the audience as much as possible now.
Pasan, just one point to add on Nuvini's question.
Please.
I think Chandika touched base on how industry would look at new fresh engineer, but I would like to touch the other side of it. Now, I remember when I was passing out from the university, right? So the mindset that we have, just soon as you pass out from the university, my personal judgment that time was, I know everything. So I went out to the market with that mindset that I know everything. I passed out from the best university in the country, and so as an engineering as an engineer, so that's it. And others will have to respect me and all of that. When you touch the organization on the first day itself, you realize who you are. And then it's about the openness and the attitude that, what makes you or breaks you, right? After about a couple of months joining MAS, the marketing manager was 1 year older to me. He was the marketing manager. I was just a management trainee, kind of an engineering executive in MAS. He walks out to me in the production floor in MAS, one of the factories, and he was scolding me. That's what you get. But then you have to be open about it, and then understand. You think, okay, you have come out from the university. The marketing manager just got through the A levels. That's it. But the reality is, your adaptability, the passion, the openness, and the attitude, like what Chandika was mentioning. gets your hand dirty, and then learn when you're at that younger age, and then later you will not have issues. But then it's up to you actually how you take it.
Right. So much. Few more questions as much as possible, because we are about to wind up at 7:30. We have about just 5 to 6 minutes for another question.
Sir, I have a question. How can we find the standards related to ethics?
I think that would go to Ranishka maybe. What sort of, where can they really find the ethics or standards related to ethics?
True. So what I was just touching today was the practical side of ethics and the responsibility. But if you really want to go into the technical side of it, is like in Sri Lanka we have the IESL Code of Ethics and the Responsibility. But elsewhere, if you go to international, that there are certain ethics that you need to abide by. The best thing as young engineers coming out of the university or just passed out from the university, stick to the basics which is available in the IESL. They have it in their website as well. Things like that. But it's the same thing that I was just trying to bring out the practical side of it, but the technical side is available in IESL. I think that for the time being, that's probably enough.
All right. They might be interested in looking a little ahead and know more about ethics. And do we really have another question before we go to the final session and wind up? Maybe we have time for one more question from the audience.
Hello, can I ask a question?
Oh, of course, please go ahead.
Yeah. So do you think the professional ethics followed changing a lot with country and project type?
Can you please repeat the question again?
Do you think the professional ethics followed changing a lot with like country to country and project type?
All right, Ranishka, I think the question is the
Sure.
ethics and the standards, do they differ from country to country and region to region?
No. Probably, yeah. Pardon me if I miscommunicated it earlier. No, the basic ethics, your values, integrity, the responsibility, the social responsibility, the excellence, it doesn't change from country to country. But what I was trying to mention is these ethics, which is directly applicable to Sri Lanka, is available with the IESL. But then in the larger international arena, there are probably more higher requirements, like what Chandika was mentioning about the breeding of the fish in the river, and then you had to wait for nine months to divert the river. So things like that, actually, probably those days it was not available in Sri Lanka, but now these things are available because we also adopt the international standards. For an example, one example is the one of the hydro projects that ADB is financing in Sri Lanka is Moragul hydropower. There's just one endangered endemic species in that called green labia fish. Because of that, the amount of activities that the CEB had to do and the amount of money that they had to spend is immense. Probably you can do a fish project rather a hydro project. So these requirements are coming, and it's available and it's adapted in the country. But to start with your ethics and the requirements are probably the principal requirement in the country is the IESL requirements.
Thank you, Ranishka. I think that clarified the question. Maybe in a different perspective, maybe we have to always keep up with our moral ethics wherever we are. Maybe the countries can have there are different standards, but our moral ethics, like what we have inculcated in ourselves, does not change wherever we work. So it's time to go for the final round with the two panelists as we are about to wind up. Now, let me first turn to Ranishka. Now, summarizing what Ranishka was trying to mention, I think we discussed a lot about ethics, professionalism, and how you should present yourself as an engineer in this society. Now, Ranishka, winding this up, what is your final message to the participants today?
I will come back to the same the slogan that I had: know what you do and do what you know. And probably it's when you are an engineer, it's our duty to inspire a young child to become an engineer. So it's how we behave in the society, how we behave in our professional sphere, which will actually guide the future generation to become an engineer. So your integrity, your values, your principles, and your professional excellence matters to make the future engineer a better one.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Chandika. This is our final round. So, what's your final message to our participants today?
Actually, my message is like actually we need to go with technology. I mean, even today we have some of the best engineers in the country, but still we are behind, right? There's digitalization coming in a big way, artificial intelligence coming in a big way. Now I'm working with Germany, Aachen University on digital surveillance in our factories, right? So we have millions of data, we don't know what to do. So there's no roadmap. So now all engineers should understand digital. It's just like, it's like a basic thing, right? So do stick to your core, explore all the new technologies, be with that, be trendy. It's a big world out there, and we are getting outdated like every 6 months. So the companies have to spend, for us as leadership, to our juniors, to trainees, everybody, to see how we can take the industry forward, how to become competitive, and also look at the consumer. Like just a very quick example, like so now I'm in innovation. Now I also do product innovation, and from reuse, from disposable kind of garments, they're going to reusable, because sustainability is such a big thing, and we have to change our entire 30 years of manufacturing landscape, for that, from materials to construction to quality, everything, because now we need far more better elastic, so our knowledge on materials have to exceed. So with that, we have to be up there, whatever industry it is. So that is my message. Have a broad mind, get your practical experience, always focus on your CV as well, but don't forget about your practical engineers. We are engineers. And also look at new technologies, move forward. Also, please develop the community. It's our duty to do these kind of sessions. One day you guys will all do this to help your community grow, to our younger generation, because if not, we cannot be competitive in this world. So that's my simple message, Pasa. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now, summarizing up, I think we had a really nice discussion. It was a knife edge to me, because from one end, it was encouraging to be flexible, agile, and take the risk. But from other end, another interesting perspective of do what you really know and be professional and be open to the society, be responsible. So I think it was a really interesting discussion, and something we rarely find, because we did not just say the same thing over and over again, but was looking at an engineer from two different perspectives, I would say, whereas both were valid and both were interesting. So I take this opportunity to thank you, both of you gentlemen, for your valuable time, and your thoughts, your words were really inspirational, I'm pretty sure. So it's my time to pay gratitude to you on behalf of all the participants, and particularly on behalf of IEEE Young Professionals. So first, let me present the e-token of appreciation to Mr. Ranishka Vimalasena for your contribution today. Thanks a lot, Ranishka.
Thank you very much, Prasanth. A pleasure.
Then, Dr. Chandika, let me present you your e-token of appreciation. Thank you so much for your time, your effort, and thoughts.
Thanks, Prasan. Welcome. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the panelists. Thanks to the participants. We had a really interesting discussion, and we could. It was my responsibility to finish talk by 7:30. It's 7:28. I think we are on schedule. Thank you so much, and make sure that all of you and your family stay safe during this challenging time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pasan, for bringing the best out of the panelists this evening in Upskill 2021. As a note to thank you for your excellent job on moderating the panel discussion, we would like to present you with this digital token of appreciation. Mr. Pasan, please accept our wholehearted gratitude.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Litma. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Upskill Sri Lanka 2021 brings you a great opportunity to showcase your talents and stand a chance to win IEEE student memberships. All you have to do is create a video of 1.5 to 2.5 minutes of length, or write an article under the given topics and upload it via the submission link. The top 5 winners from the article contest and top 5 winners from the video contest will be selected and awarded with IEEE student memberships. So make sure to submit your videos and articles on or before 27 September, 11:59 p.m. You can get further information about this contest in the link posted in the chat. Next on Spotlight, to entertain and liven up the audience, is Oshada Tilakshana, a second-year undergraduate of Faculty of Engineering of Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. Oshada, the stage is all yours, and I hope every one of you will enjoy it.
අතරේ වූ කතා රය පුරා උණුහුමේ මල් පෙති තලා සයනයක් නිදනවා මේ රය අපගේ වූ නිසා ආදරෙන් නග්න වූ හිමිකම් සොයා උණුසුම් හෘදයක සුවඳින් ගත පිබිදී ගියා ඔබේ නම සොයන වතාමක් නිය සිතුවම් පුරා සරාගයේ රයේ විනිබිඳුවක් නිනැටි මා සිතේ හිඩසක් මවා යහන්තලේ වැතිරී අද තනිකම ඉතුරු වී සද ඇතිරිල්ලෙන් එළී තනි වුණා කාමරේ මුළු පුරා නෙක සලු පිලි තනි වෙලා මා සිතින් හඬනවා දෙස බල බලා මම්මුලා වූ සිතින් මා මල් සුවඳක් විඳිනවා නැතිමත් ඇතිරුවත් හාමාවෙලී උණුසුම් උදයක සුවඳින් ගත පිබිදී ගියා ඔබේ නම සොයනවතාමත් නිය සිතුවම් පුරා සරාගයේ රයේ විනිබිඳුවක් වී නැති මා සිතේ හිඩසක් මවා යහන්තලේ වැතිරී අද තනිකම ඉතුරු වී සද ඇතිරිල්ලෙන් මෙලී තනි වුණා.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that amazing performance, Oshada. I'm sure every one of you enjoyed it as much as I did, and it was a pleasure to have you here. With that entertaining segment, I would like to kindly request all of you to switch on your cameras to take a photo with this new norm. Are we good to go, Janika? Or shall we wait for another couple of seconds to get the cameras?
Okay, guys, please few seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think now we are good to go, guys. Everyone, please smile. Right. Wait. Hold on. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. With that, it's time to have a walk down the memory lane, reminiscing a decade worth of memories of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka. I'm sure you saw some familiar faces in the video and it brought back a lot of good memories for the most of you. Moving on with the proceedings, next up is another value added segment. To make you aware of management areas with sustainability, joined with us today is another renowned speaker. He has been serving as a visiting lecturer at several institutes, including University of Moratuwa, the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, University of Vocational Technology, and the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka. Please welcome Mr. Jagat Vikramasekara onto the spotlight with a virtual round of applause to address redefining management for sustainable development to upskilling. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
First of all, I should thank the organizing committee for inviting me. I think during this challenging time, the upskilling has been a vital topic that we should discuss. And especially, we are addressing this young budding engineers or undergrads. We should definitely tell them, we should definitely convey the message that real dynamics of the industry so that it will be a very much beneficial point for them to improve and change themselves during this difficult time. So I believe you have done a great initiative linking the industry and the young graduates so that they will learn what's going on out there. Definitely, this will be a wonderful opening for them. So, with my experience now, as you said, I'm also lecturing for few institutions as well as now I'm running few of my own business attached to various organizations. So, I'm looking forward to share my story, my experiences with you during this period.
Yes, now it's time to move on to the discussion to provide you with knowledge about redefining technology for sustainable development to aware the young professionals here today. You all have the chance to direct any questions that you may have to Mr. Jagat during the discussion by putting your questions in the chat. To start off, I would like to ask you, sir, we are all facing a different new normal situation, as you explained. So what is the role of engineers in project management now?
Isma, sorry, would you mind repeating the question again, please?
Yes,
I'm
sure.
really sorry. There may be some,
I think there's a delay.
disturbances. Would you repeat, please? Yes.
Yes. As we are all facing a different new normal situation, what is the role of engineers in project management now? That's the question.
Yes, yes, Ritma, that's I think, very valid question that we should ask. But answer would be surprising. The answer that I have to give would be surprising. Ritma, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed out there. When it comes to the role of the engineer, if you ask the question as the role of the engineer, nothing has changed. In project management, because the power plants are being constructed, roads are being constructed, buildings are being constructed, equipment which were running is still failing. We need them to be repaired. We still have our day-to-day requirement, our utility requirement, our uh, facility requirement, all prevail. So nothing has changed. Then you would question why you use the term that challenging time. Yes, there's a problem here. In when it comes to the project management, we need each and everybody's collaboration and their output as it was before. But only thing that has changed right now is how you project yourself to the outside world. Those days, we used to have a lot of projects meeting each other, interacting with them regularly. But now, the same project meetings are still there because we need a smooth run of the project. We need the output of every individual to make it a successful project. But only thing that has changed is how you project yourself to the outside world, outside, I mean, to other members of the project team. So that has changed. The time that you spent in the ground level has been reduced. The way you interacted with your colleagues and the members has been changed. Your time period that was allocated for project has been changed. Now but everything that was expected even before the pandemic is still there. So what I want to tell you is that nobody should get disappointed. I think nowadays so many media and individuals are saying that we are at the verge of huge collapse. Everything gonna be a disaster very soon. No, nothing, because we are a very resilient human being. We have throughout our history, we have faced so many challenges. So this is another incident like that. So we should keep on moving. If something doesn't go as you expect, you find another alternative and move ahead with that. So project management has been more important factor in the modern world, during the current situation. So your role still remains as it is. Only thing change how you project yourself to the outsiders, how you convey your message, how you give your command and instruction to the outsiders has changed. Now I will take one example. uh, Few months back, not few months, few years back, let's say 1 or 2 years back, when it's come to a project, actually I was physically there with my colleagues, interacting and dealing with them at the ground level. And but now, with this lot of restriction, when I was in the previous case, that was a project in Kolpiti. It was a multi-story building. Now I had my project office within the building itself, and I had my colleagues seeing on day-to-day basis, and I saw the real scenario. But recently I was awarded another project that was by another embassy in Sri Lanka, one of a reputed country. So here I was given IoT-based system to be implemented. But here, my role was totally different because we had a lot of restriction. We couldn't visit the place on daily basis. Then I got my engineering team regularly visiting the place and doing all the fixing and programming and all the work. My role was to monitor them on regular basis and helping them whenever they got a problem. So the tool, how I projected myself to this engineering team was through other electronic media like mobile phone, and I use WhatsApp a lot, and then email, so on and so forth. And again, my computer also changed. Those days, when I was in the project office with my colleague, if I need to check a drawing, I asked them to print the drawing, and they could bring it to my office. We check what are the development should be done. But now, instead of, I don't have people here to print a drawing from me. If I start printing, it would be a huge cost for me also. So instead, I have few monitors connected to my computer also. Then I get one monitor for the drawing and one monitor for all the specification and other things that I should read. And there's another monitor, the laptop monitor is for my other works. So this is how the things has changed. That's the change that we should understand. So the role hasn't been changed. How you project yourself in the project management team has changed. So you should be resilient, you should be dynamic, you should be flexible to use these new tools and new technology, and portray yourself outsiders.
Thank you for that. I think you managed to touch upon many timely factors and also how we can execute alternative solutions in a pandemic situation, even though. So relating to that, how can we make the projects sustainable as a continuation of the first part?
Yes. Project sustainability is a vast subject area, Ritma. We can look from different angles, especially environmental factor, economic factors, so on and so forth. There are a lot of other aspects, especially as a lecturer who is interacted with the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka. I do know there are a lot of other factors. But let me divert the discussion towards a different direction right now, because we are addressing lots of young engineers here, young undergraduates here. So if I am to talk to you, my answer has to be kind of modified so that you will absorb the real lessons of it. So the point I want to tell you here is that, remember, when it comes to a project, the cardinal factors, the key elements that we should understand is time, quality, and the cost. So those are the key elements. And next thing, the sustainability also defined from my point of view that how your client would invite you for your next project, how your team members who work with you would like to work with you again, how other elements of a project would like to engage with you for the next project, whether your suppliers would be willing to work with you again, whether your consultant would be willing to work with you again. So that's another aspect of sustainability. So will you be hired by your organization again for their second project? So those are the aspects that we should think of when it comes to the sustainability from my point of view. But as you all know, there are some other dimensions that we can describe under the sustainability. So what I want to tell you that which is very much essential, that how you cater this all the other parties as the project manager, as the engineer. So let's say you deliver very poor outcome to the client, definitely they will not come behind you again for your second project. Obviously sustainability is disrupted if you do not maintain your quality of the outcome. Definitely your end user will not be willing to see even yourself within the project team itself. And if you're asking huge amount of money for your deliveries again and again from your, let's say, from your head office or the investors, they will not be willing to work with you again. So this sustainability if you really analyze from a different angle, it means that how you maintain your sustainability, how you keep yourself fit into the engineering world, so that you will have a continuous path even in the future. So this is what I want to tell you. But obviously there are some other dimensions when it comes to sustainability, as I told you. So now it's a very simple aspects that we can discuss here if you look the whole scenario from that angle. How you can dominate industry as an engineer who will be asked to be with the project team again and again. Remember, when it comes to such element, most important thing is the confidence. We have to have our confidence as an engineer to engage with any kind of scenario in the project world, because when the project is in progress, the things are changing in second. You will never get the same scenario happening second time. So that if you have the confidence to face this changing aspects, changing elements, definitely you will be hired for the next project. Definitely your client, definitely your end user will be ready to buy your product again and again. So the sustainability is very important. But from engineering point of view, from undergraduate point of view, you have to be a confident engineer. You have to be a valuable person to the project team, so that your sustainability will retain to the next day, even in to the future. So then how do we get this confidence built? Now if I ask a question now, because we have a lot of engineers right now, there are large number of people are coming out of the universities, and there are a lot of engineers also. Now how do you make confident engineer needed for the industry? Now this is the question of the hour. We have a lot of engineers, but how many of are them real confident engineers? So confidence doesn't come just because you have read the books, you have just, you are a tall person, you have a wonderful commanding voice. That doesn't mean, when it comes to the engineering world, those are, kind of a second line element. The confidence will come if you have enough knowledge, sufficient knowledge to talk about your subject. That's the first thing. The second thing, you should have enough experience in the subject area. Now, how do you get the experience? Now, if I ask you a question, I don't know if you can answer, the audience or the members can answer. How do you can get the experience? You would I don't know if you answer. Yeah, by repeatedly engaging with the project, you can get the answer. You can get the experience by doing. Yes, as yes, by doing, by involving, you can get the experience. But what's the most important aspect of the experience? Through experience, when you are getting, when you are going through the lane of experience, what kind of substances you can absorb into your life? Remember, failures are the most important thing for engineers to learn. So my young engineers, the undergraduates, so if I go through the order, if you want to be a sustainable projects, remember, projects, I mean the sustainability in projects, you have to be a sustainable person. You should be retaining in the industry. In order to be a retaining engineer, you have to have confidence level within you. So how to build the confidence? First, you have to have the knowledge, required subject knowledge, and enough experience. So obviously, at this moment, you all are in the phase of learning, because this knowledge is very essential. And then once you are in the industry, you will keep on struggling and learning, and by doing these things, you keep on getting the experience. But even the experience, what we really need is the failures, right? Once you get a lot of failures, you know what you shouldn't do when you get the next problem next day. So sustainability from my point of view is a totally different avenue. So my invitation for these all, undergraduates, keep on learning during this period. And once you are in the industry, keep on doing these things. Don't be afraid of the failures. But then after some time, you will feel, ah, I am a person who can undertake any challenge. I have enough confidence level to face any problem in the industry. That's where the sustainable engineer would appear in the industry. They are the people that we need for the industry. So please understand, this takes time. This takes time. Sustainable engineers, sustainable project managers, sustainability will not, when it comes to the engineering aspect, will not come within a year, within second year of your, your employment or third year of employment. It's a journey. You have to keep on gathering these each and every substances into your life. Then one day you will feel, wow, I'm a confident person to take the next challenge. Right? That's where the real sustainability will come to your life.
Yes, Mr. Jagat. So as you mentioned about the experience and skill set, usually engineers are directed to hard skills related workshops. So could you discuss the importance of directing engineers for soft skills development programs, as we are in a time of this new normal and the pandemic situation?
Yes. I think when it comes to the soft skill versus hard skill or technical skill, I think that may be the understanding that you had, technical skills versus soft skill. Because of this new normal, the situation has changed now. As I told you, how you project yourself at the very first question you gave me, I told you how you project yourself has changed. Now, earlier days, we wanted to have a person with, kind of a commanding voice, and you wanted to have a person with good facial expression, and they should be a person with a wonderful smile, and how to interact with the so on and so forth. We were expecting a lot of soft skills, but believe me, this COVID has given us a new opportunity. Uh, we have to rethink this again. Now, answer to your question again, even I'm in a learning process now because we are experiencing these things for just 2 years period. So there are a lot of learning there behind this scenario. So sometimes what I'm telling right now would not be applicable in another few years time because things are changing, people are learning. But as far as I have perceived this scenario, as far as my experience are concerned, uh, comparing current situation with previous situation, I think now the soft skill will have a soft skill should be there, but the hard skill uh, would be predominantly prevailing in the industry more than ever. However, please now remember the first thing you have to understand that most of the time, even I have seen this kind of a myth here, especially when it's come to engineering. Also, I have seen you have to build your soft skill. That is most important thing in the industry. But if you really think what soft skill are, how your communication skill, how you talk, how you express yourself when you are talking, and how you interact with your team members, lot of other elements are there when it comes to soft skill. But let's take one side of it, your communication skill, how you communicate yourself. This is the number one factor most of the time people would describe when it comes to the soft skill. I think I am correct, right? You will be repeatedly bombarded with various people that you have to develop your communication skill. It's true, but what do you communicate? What you have within you to communicate? Now you listen to these various speeches out that are happening out there beyond our circle. How many of those people do talk with substance and values and some sort of thing that we can absorb into our life? Very less. Now, just we need soft skill because we need people who can talk really well. We need people who can interact with others. The soft skills are needed. But what the priorities, especially these young engineers, especially these graduates, now because of some reason, because of due to some unknown reason, you are and in the stream of engineering, you have to build your identity as the engineer in the industry. So how do you build, what is the most key element that you have to be an engineer? If now there may be a lot of electrical engineers here, there will be a lot of electronics engineer here, the IT students. How can I say that this person is an electrical engineer? How can I say that this person is an electronic engineer? Electrical engineer doesn't have any additional lamp connected on their head. You don't see any electronics engineer with a resistor or IC as their jewelries. How do you recognize them? How do you distinguish electronics engineer from an electrical engineer or from IT engineer? Their knowledge. So once you have the knowledge only, you can communicate to others. So please remember, soft skills are needed. There is no any argument with that. I'm not going to tell that it is, secondary or it's a third element that you should develop. It is needed. But when it comes to the timeline, now you all are in the learning phase. Now, as undergraduates, you are learning. So please learn your subject area first. Now, if I am to address few employees in an organization, and if this question comes, my answer would be a totally different one. Because in the industry, we believe that you have all the knowledge needed. We have recruited an electrical engineers because of their knowledge, because of your thinking based on the electrical engineering. So develop this skill during this period first. And at the same time, pay attention on other communication and the soft skill as well. But always prioritize your knowledge because we need knowledgeable people to the industry. That's the key factor that you should understand. Now coming into the new normal, now this thing, I mean, the first phase, the need of the knowledge has been there for uh, throughout this engineering sector, project sector. But in the new normal also, in the current condition nowadays, uh, when it's come to a project meeting also, the time period that you are given is very short, right? If you are to contribute your progress to the rest of the team members, you have a very limited time. It's very, because meetings are like maximum 1 hour or 2 hours. Nobody likes to spend their time in front of the computer listening to all the speeches, unlike those days. Because those days we physically met in a project team, but now the situation has changed. So you have a very limited time. Most of the time your camera will remain closed throughout the session. So the facial expression, X and Y, Z of this soft skill will have a very minimal impact. You, even after the COVID, believe me, even after the COVID, within a very short period of time, we will find a solution, and everybody, the entire world will be free from this COVID. But yet, how the project would be managed, and how the software would be developed will be something like it would be a hybrid scenario that we are having right now. So you have to adapt to this situation. Now you have to understand what's the priority. The priority is your knowledge. So my invitation to these young engineers right now, please keep on developing your knowledge, because we need knowledgeable people. There are a lot of problem out there, unsolved problem, unsolved engineering issues are there, number of engineering issues are there. Now world is moving to a different scenarios. Those days we thought of having a vehicle, and how to get it repaired, or maybe fuel efficient vehicle things, so on and so forth. But now what are the challenges we have in terms of IT sector? We are getting into 5G, we are getting into quantum computers. Everything should be done through the computer medium now, in the IT medium. So there are huge demand for encryption, encryption technology, so on and so forth. So be ready, get into this world first, and learning soft skill, to be honest, won't take too long, right? So always prioritize your as if I use the word that you use, hard skill. Build your identity as an engineer, and then obviously develop your soft skill also, because it is also very important. Sometimes you might be invited to a forum like this. So if you do not know how to project yourself, and how to convey yourself, or how to express few ideas to the audience, sometimes that may be a little drawback. But remember, that doesn't mean you are a useless person. If you are not good at that area, in the other areas, but still as an engineer, still you can dominate. You don't, you most of the time you have seen how Elon Musk speak. He's not a good presenter, but today his ambition is to get the planet Mars, right? Now he has a wonderful objectives lying ahead of him. So summarizing my answer, uh, both are needed. But if I talk to the undergrads here, please keep on learning, because you will never get another chance once you get into the uh, industry to learn these things. So you have your lecturers, they are knowledgeable people. Please get as much as possible from these valuable people. Keep on developing yourself in terms of your knowledge. Then the industry will look after you afterwards, right? If they see that you have the enough knowledge, you have enough these engineering skills within you, they will develop your soft skill. Let them develop that part. Be a suitable engineer first. So Litma, back to you. I don't know how long I took to answer your question.
No worries, we have plenty of time. I think that was a great piece of advice for the young professionals here today on how to build their unique identity skill-wise to last in the industry. So I would also like to ask about how you could, Mr. Jagat, describe the importance of team collaboration in project execution, as we all will be members of a project team as engineers.
Yes, yes. Let me take one example here, Litma. Now, I heard that the Institution of Engineers were also described several times during one panelist, uh, speech also. Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka is the kind of apex body who undertake all the engineering discipline. Sometimes we have seen there are some people who come and they want to be recognized as kind of plumbing engineers, civil engineers, fire alarm engineers, mechanical engineers, air conditioning engineers, this and that, and all the engineering disciplines, right? Now, if you ask why, they say no, it's good, having lots of engineering discipline under one umbrella, and then I would feel that I know everything. But the problem here is that how much that you can get into the deep depth of the subject, how deep that you can describe or talk in this each engineering discipline. That's what matters right now. It's good that you have the knowledge about other engineering disciplines. There's a statement, something about everything, everything about something. So your identity will be defined by everything about something. Being the person who knows everything about something. So let me get again, describe a few things related to my life also. Now, I interact with a lot of IP-based building services systems, especially which are coming under extra low voltage system. Now, when it's come to the IP CCTV system, actually earlier, I had a very basic knowledge on this subject when I was initially engaging with a few projects in Sri Lanka. Especially, I have involved CCTV implementation of airport of Sri Lanka and number of hotels in Colombo also, including World Trade Center itself with almost 200 CCTV camera and having IP-based CCTV systems. Now, recently, we were awarded 25 factories of another garment factory, 25 factory of another garment factory in garment related company in Sri Lanka, very reputed one. I don't want to highlight the name, but not the one that previous speaker highlighted. Now it's merely based on our expert knowledge, the how I portray the knowledge to these people, right? I don't say that we use huge verbal variation and eye contact and communication skills to convey themselves that we have enough technical expert, but it's basically how I told them that we have technical skills, we have enough experience to undertake these 25 factories. So having CCTV cameras, it's going to be a massive project, right? Now it's basically your understanding, your how deep you have analyzed this particular subject, what matters at the end, right? You can't simply say when it's come to the modern world that okay, I'm a CCTV engineer. They need the in-depth understanding. They need in-depth knowledge on at least one subject, so that your identity will be there. So this when it comes to team collaboration, we need such expert collectively, because it's very difficult to be an expert on every discipline of the engineering, because our brain doesn't work like that, right? So you can put your all effort that you are trying to put to this each and every subject into one subject and get into the deep of it. So collectively, then you have this all the team members who are good at each and every discipline of engineering, and then collectively you can do some marvel, right? You are an electrical engineer, you have analyzed everything to the depth. You have civil engineers, you have analyzed everything to the depth. So you are expert in that subject area. There are communication engineers, there are IT engineers, they are knowledgeable to the deep of that subject. So then it's collectively you can get your task achieved. So in order to get this task or objective achieved, the collaboration is very much essential. Collaboration is very much essential, because as I told you, it's very difficult to be expert in every subject area. When it's come to a construction project, when it's come to a mechanical project, when it's come to a electrical project, we need this all expert in our basket. Let's say nowadays, especially now I'm involving with this building automation system, in which we fix a lot of controllers and all the services in the building. We do automate. Now here with this new lot of development, you get communication aspects. You need to have your Wi-Fi system set up. You have to have your air conditioning system set up. Now the problem here is if if I do think that I'm an expert in air conditioning area and I can undertake all the all the aspects of this particular automation project, I don't think I will do the justice to the end user, right? So at that time, what I do is I get help from the expert in that area. Now, usually before putting the building automation system in system to a building, fixing, sometimes it's a building which is already running, we have to do an energy auditing. Now, to be honest, I'm not an expert in that area. But if I fix my system without analyzing the current dynamics of the energy, uh, of that building, definitely your client will be the suffering part because he is to invest a couple of million rupees, Sri Lankan rupees, to fix the system in the building. So, but if you do not analyze the current scenario, obviously the system will not work properly. So you have to get another expert to analyze the energy profile because you have to pick the sensors. You want to see how the chill water flow moving and how the lighting system work, what's the current electricity consumption, how the pumps are working, whether pumps are running as per the pump curve or any other parameter had changed. These things should be analyzed, but I'm not an expert in that area. So you have to get. I'm an expert. I mean, I can't say I'm an expert, but I'm okay with having an automated system. So I have to get this second person, and collectively we can do the justice to the end user. So collaboration is very much essential when it comes to doing the justice to the user. If you feel that you know everything and I will undertake this project, that project, and I will take that aspect and this aspect and try to deliver the objective, definitely you will fail because it's very difficult that you can be a person who knows everything, and don't try to be like that. It's very shallow. We have very less knowledge in that case because you do not have time to invest to get into the subject area, any subject area. You have very shallow knowledge of this various subjects, but instead you select your subject area and get into the deep of it. Keep on learning about it every day because subjects are changing so rapidly. A few years back we were talking about IP version 4 and internet with a very limited scenario, but now things have changed. We are talking about IoT, and we are talking about 5G technologies, and we are talking about new protocols that are emerging. Lot of changes have occurred. So you think that we can be knowledgeable on those souls? No, it's very difficult. So you get this expert, and then it's a team of experts. You can do marvel afterwards. You can deliver what really client needs. So that is how you should do the justice. So as you really said, please make sure collaboration is very much essential. But nowadays in this new normal, it is little bit challenging to maintain this collaboration because we are physically isolated, but still you have to find some technical means and some other channel so that your team will remain interconnected and all the data and information will be shared among the team, so that finally you can do the justice to your stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Jagat, for that. As you elaborated really well on how important team collaboration and how individual roles come into play in project execution, could you also maybe shed some light on how to set up the ideal project team to lead to success with your experience, Mr. Jagat?
Yes. Now let me start with one example. Right, this having ideal team or the perfect team. Uh, this perfection also.
Apple. Before.
Perfection is also relative. Perfection is also relative. From situation to situation, it is changing, right? Now, I was, taking the example in one of my previous projects, I was the project manager for extra low voltage system. under which I had 17 systems to install, including building automation system, meter reading system, CCTV, access control, barrier gates. You know, when the vehicle comes, you should open the vehicle barrier, the barrier gates automatically. Then I had CCTV system with lot of video analytics, public addressing system connected with the fire alarm system. So, you know, there are a lot of subsystem under extra low voltage system. So I was the project manager here. Now, I needed one more engineer to look after because 17 system, you know, it's very difficult for me to handle. So I had my team, each was given few system to look after. So I got a one person, and he was a really good person, I would say, with all the human qualities. He was interacting with each and every members really well, and I think people were so happy to be with him. And he really enjoyed, you know, having their lunch with the team members. If you have any personal problem, that was the ideal guy to go and talk because he was giving wonderful set of advices. If you have any financial issues, I know this person would lend some money and help. You know, wonderful human being, very much happy to have such a person in your life, to be honest, but not in the project, because I gave him few systems, but the progress was not up to the level, even though my repeated call, even though my repeated request, he couldn't meet the timeline, right? So that's what I'm telling. You know, these things are very relative. The perfection is very relative. Sometimes for certain areas, like you know, where these human issues are being discussed, definitely that particular character would be the 100% matching person. So ultimately, I had to ask, to be honest, to you know, leave the project, and I asked him to join with the head office again. So there is no anything called, you know, this really perfection is very relative, right? If you feel that your deliveries are not there, you have to take very painful decision, because if you are the project manager, if you are the leader, don't think that you are the person who makes everybody happy. It's very difficult, very difficult. Then, as you said, again, as you clearly said, how to make the perfect team. The perfection, as I told you, like, you know, it depends on the scenario, but when it comes to the practical project condition, you have to have experts, you have to have people who can undertake the pressure, who has the enough experiences, who have the confidence, who have the expert knowledge. You know, these engineers will not emerge at once. It's an investment. You have to struggle with the site, you have to struggle with your problem for very long time, and then only you will get these confident engineers, as I told you before. Just after university, my first placement was United Kingdom. I was a member of generator manufacturing plant in United Kingdom. I had a fabulous life there. Everything was so structured. I knew what I had to do. But after that placement, I came back to Colombo, and then I joined with another Japanese organization. They sent me to another country, which was in Africa. You know, I had to work under under very harsh conditions. The temperature was 50 degrees, right? And it was next to the, I think, some Gulf Sea or something. The humidity level was very high. So it was a very harsh condition. But still, I really enjoy what I learned during that period, because under such harsh condition, I delivered what they expected. Again, that was my first ever building automation system that I installed. I didn't know so many things, but somehow my motive was to do a good job there. So I think, when it comes to a successful project means, you know, perfect team means we need people with that stamina, who can undertake the challenge, who can undertake the, you know, this new issues that are coming in the industry. So those are the people that you have to select into your group, so that they will you can have a perfect team. But remember, now then, how do we get this team developed is the next question that you might have. Remember, don't wait until somebody comes and then develop your team. If you are selected, if you have got the opportunity, so it's the element, the members of the team has the responsibility to make it a successful team. or the project manager or the team leader can do very little, right? So most of the time I have seen we like to rely on another party for our perfection, right? He hasn't done his part, that's why we are failing, right? We always complain our leaders, we always complain our politicians, but have we delivered our part perfectly? That's the question comes. So if you are a perfect person, it's very difficult to achieve the perfection. We have to admit there are a lot of drawbacks in our life also. There are a lot of negative sides in our life also. But leave it aside. Think of what you have. Think of praise your abilities, praise your skills, and do your best. Become a perfect person in that subject area. Once you get this whole individual element, all the perfect element together, obviously team will be a perfect team. So it's not something that the outsiders can impose on you when it comes to the perfect team. You become a good perfect member in the team, and the team will be a perfect team. And that is, however, when it comes to the project managers or team managers, if you see that your team members are not delivering the expected outcome, obviously you have to remove them. You have to eliminate them from the team, right? And let me tell you one more thing there also. Now, the once you deliver your perfect outcome, there will be a moment. Let's say, as an engineer, you are a team member of this project team. You keep on doing your part, but there will be one moment where you can't go beyond that because there are some issues, there are some other parameters which are beyond your control. That's where your team member, that's where leader, that's where your manager would interact with you, right? Always when I have been project manager for various cases, various projects in Sri Lanka. I have been manager for various reputed organizations in Sri Lanka also. My first advice for them was, first do your part. You have total freedom, right? Do your part perfectly, and you will have a moment where you can't step beyond that because of some problem. That's the moment you need me. That's where I should intervene into your project, and that's where I have to help you, because that's what I am paid. I will not come into each and every step of your task and inspect and monitor and involve with your life, because I have full trust over you. I will believe that you would deliver that part. But when you struggle, come to my desk, I will help you. So that's the theory behind having a perfect team,
I think
perfect
those,
project team.
yes, I think those are some great points you made in selecting the ideal team, while you incorporated your personal experience and knowledge as well. So moving on, as you all know, there are changes in the focus of the projects that we had 2 years back with the COVID situation, and the experiences the graduates are facing may be different from the past. What are the benefits of engaging in external stakeholders for better outcomes of the project in this situation and beyond? Should I repeat the question again, maybe?
I think, would you mind, yes? Would you
Yes.
mind, yeah, please?
Okay. So as we all know, there are changes in the focus of the projects that we had 2 years back with the COVID situation, and the experiences the graduates are facing may be different from the past. What are the benefits of engaging with external stakeholders for better outcomes of the project in this situation and beyond?
Okay. Yeah, it's a little lengthy one, but let's segregate it into few pieces. The first thing I heard that you said that there are changes in focus of the project compared to post-COVID and the pre-COVID, so 2 years back or in the current scenario. Litma, I'm really sorry, I can't agree with your point, right? There's no any change in the focus, right? Focus remain as it is. If you are a project member, if you are a project manager, you have to deliver those key things, which I told at the very beginning. You have to deliver quality project. You have to use, in terms of cost, you have to be very effective, and the time. Those are the three elements as an engineer or the member of the project that you have to maintain: quality, the time, and the cost. Very important factors when it comes to a project, right? And remember, when you try to change one aspect, definitely others too will be affected, right? If you try to improve or let's say you want to increase the profit of the company, profit of the project, or you want to reduce the cost. In other terms, once you reduce the cost, obviously your profit will go up. But then that will affect your time factor, that will affect your cost factor also, right? So sometimes the quality factor, when you reduce the cost, definitely that will affect your quality also, right? So that's how those are interrelated. So I think from my point of view, the focus remain as it is, right? Focus remain as it is, despite these new changes. I mean, even just imagine a scenario before this COVID. Did we have a wonderful time? Was everything perfect? We didn't have any complaint. No, still we had challenges, right? You all had the challenges. Now we have to be within the home most of the time, right? That's the only difference. The rest remain as it is, right? You have to look after your health more than before. You should not get yourself exposed to outsiders as it was before. So few things has changed. Just imagine how many things has changed. Very limited. You still work, you still learn, but the medium has changed. So the focus remain as it is, right? But how you so don't get disappointed that we are at the verge of collapse. The situation is drastically changing. We will not have a future. No, you all gonna have a bright future, even far better than this, right? So only thing change that we how we project ourselves to the outsiders, how we portray ourselves to the outsider, how we interact with others, right? In meeting project objectives, in meeting quality, in meeting time factor, in meeting cost, how you project yourself, how you interact your project team has changed. So now we need more interaction, more help from other stakeholders than before. So that has changed. I have to admit that that part of your question is correct, Ilma, right? So in that case, obviously, please remember, you might need help from other stakeholders of your project, which include even your parents, even your colleagues, even your friends, more than ever. So in this case, you have to understand the stakeholders who have more knowledge, who have the experience than you, would interact with you more than ever in order to do something useful, in order to contribute to for the success of the project. So please remember, the outside is challenging, right? Because of this new nature. So please interact with your stakeholders. Please develop your knowledge. Now you know what are the substances that you should develop, because knowledge plays a bigger role in current scenario. But now you have more opportunity to learn, right? Your traveling has been reduced. You have your internet new packages are there with low rate. So why don't you invest on developing yourself more than ever? I personally believe that in near future, once you are graduated, we will get more knowledgeable engineers than before during this period, right? That is my genuine feeling that I have, because you have more time to invest on this educational material than before. So my personal feeling is just in a few years time, once you are graduated, we will have very confident engineers in terms of knowledge in the industry. So that is my happy thought. So in order to be a person like that, get every element, every stakeholder in your life uh, around you and help you, right? So in the project scenario, when you are executing our projects, I mean, that is also needed. You have to get these stakeholders. You have to be very, because no, now especially when you're talking with someone, you have to be very careful. When you're writing to someone, you have to be very careful, because if you lose someone, it's very difficult to rectify. It's very difficult to fix the damage. If you change your tone when you are talking, if you convey a wrong message by a small mistake, definitely it's very difficult to get them back to the track, because you don't meet them physically now. So please be careful when it comes to a scenario like that. Once you lose all the stakeholders, they will not come back to you. So this interaction is very important. Keep them happy, interact with them on regular basis, and keep you all the channel fresh and widen, so that you will be a successful undergraduate, successful engineer. And in the once you're at the industry, these all the channel will be beneficial for you to channel, in the sense all the stakeholder will be beneficial for you to be a good and solid engineer in the future.
Those are some great views on a project stakeholder aspect, Mr. Jagat. So to sum up the discussion, I would like to ask whether there's anything you want to share with our audience from your experience in project management and in the engineering career.
Uh, yeah. Now here also, Litma, based on my experience, since you use the word based on my experience, as I have seen when it comes to most of young graduates or young engineers, they look shortcuts, right? They need their first vehicle as early as possible. They need their, what you call a chartered engineering status as early as possible. They need to be a project manager as early as possible. They want to be a team leader as early as possible. They want to build a house as early as possible. I have no, negative views on that. But if we should chase these things. That's what life means. But if you try to look for shortcut, right, while you are in a process of chasing these things, I think that's where the disaster could come. Uh, so first, especially as I repeatedly told you, your knowledge is very essential. What we need in the industry is confident engineers. Confidence doesn't come just because of your theory knowledge. Confidence doesn't come just because you have the experience. Confidence means those two together at the same ratio, at the same percentage. Even in the experience also, you should have lot of failure stories than success stories, right? Failures will give you kind of perimeters, and no, it will define your no-go zone, right? So next time when the same situation comes, you know what you shouldn't do, right? Once you understand what you shouldn't do, the rest is your, what you can do, what are the other options. But if you let's say now you have a lot of success stories and you know what to do, but next time it will not work. It will not work, because if you simply rely on your success story and the message behind the success story, sometime it may not work for this scenario. But failures will always define your no-go zone. If you happen to do it this time also, even in this project also, you might think twice, right? Because before I have failed by trying to do these things. So that's what I told you. What we need in the industry is this confident engineers who can talk confidently, who can talk with the substance, who can undertake the challenges in this dynamic scenario. Because projects are very dynamic. Because now few days back we got, now I will take one example. I'm taking too much time. Am I?
No, you have time till 9 o'clock, so it's good to go.
Now, let me tell you one example. No, this I was engaging with the one IoT project with an embassy again. It is a different, yeah, the same embassy. It was an IoT project, as I told you. Now, I had my design done. I had my all the component priced. I knew how much would be the budget, so on and so forth. But suddenly, we got this import restriction. Then I had to go with another company, which is number one, communication company in Sri Lanka. I went to them and I got all the hardware needed for my project from them. And then I thought that since I have got number one company and all the, number one engineers behind me, I wouldn't have any problem. because when I spoke to them, I asked how many places you have fixed this device. They said more than 1,000 installations are running in Sri Lanka. I was so confident there won't be any problem. So I will quickly get my money back. I will get the expected outcome from the project within very short period of time. And I fixed it. And it was like connecting all the extra low voltage system. We wanted to monitor the temperature, we wanted to monitor the RH level and those status, because it was an unmanned warehouse. There were a lot of CCTV systems and fire alarm system and battery zone and so forth, access control system. Those all were connected to one device, and it was communicating with the IoT platform through the GSM communication medium. And I thought that everything on the paper it was perfect, but when I fixed it, yes, it was working fine, but there were a lot of false alarm, right? Even without opening the door, we could say that the door was open and the fire alarm system was giving a lot of faulty alarm. So it was a huge headache. So last 2 months period I was struggling with this all the problem, right? Since this was a number one company in Sri Lanka, I went behind them. I asked them, "Hey, do something soon," and they tried changing the code, and they changed the sample rate, they changed the protocol, they changed the program, but nothing worked, right? Now, now see the situation changed. We expected that everything would be fine by having perfect people. No, it changed. Then I got one of my engineer to visit the place, and obviously he was visiting several times. And one day I asked him to measure certain voltage of a few terminals. Then I realized they have used very low voltage detecting the status. Usually, in normal condition, we are maintaining at least 25 volt DC, but in this case, they have used I think somewhere around 2 volt, but in that particular point, it was somewhere around 1 volt, right? 1 volt wasn't sufficient to detect the situation when it's come to the lengthy cable. Then I quickly developed a new circuit and I put it in between and increased the voltage. Within few days time, I eliminated all the problem. Now this is these are the scenarios. These things, the problems are coming repeatedly. The engineering world, project worlds are so dynamic. Things are changing on regular basis. So you can't think that everything going to be so perfect. So keep on learning, keep on engaging this situation, especially when it's come to my even my personal life also. I like problem. Even when I'm doing lectures also, I always welcome question, ask question, because that's the only outcome that I get from the audience. Because what I know, what I can teach is what I know. That means there is no any development behind that. But if you come up with question, I know where I should think little bit more. So I like question. Now, always as young engineers, my invitation is struggle with the problem. Try to find a solution for these things. Problems are the pillars of your success when it comes to the engineering aspect. Right? If you can struggle with this question, if you can get your team members or your colleagues to help, and then find solution for these problems, that's where your engineering life starts. Not with your regular things, engaging with regular work again and again. Try to find solution for this changing situation. Try to find solution for this instantaneous problem that would come. It gives you means unexpected benefit also. Now in this particular case, I in this previous case also, I gave they asked how you resolve this problem. This particular organization asked me, Jagat, what did you do there? I told I recognize the problem. This is circuit I implemented, and it wasn't a very complex circuit. I had few relays and few power unit, and because I had to increase the voltage at the other, and I gave the solution to this company, and now I'm also benefited, because whenever I need the same device again, I'm getting a very special discount, for my next project also. So these are my the happy stories when it comes to struggling with the project. So I have a lot of stories like that also. So the things I want to tell you here is that you shouldn't find out shortcut in engineering life, right? It's a journey. You have to recognize these phases first, learn, and then keep on utilizing and engaging with the real world problem that you find in the industry. don't ever stop any of these space until you depart this world. Keep on learning, keep on engaging with the problem. Then, you will be a developing engineer. You will be a competent engineer, right? So that's the way, that's the advice I want you to tell, especially because please respect your lecturers, please interact with them and try to grab your knowledge as much as possible. Just because that you did not understand one particular segment of engineering subject, don't give up it. Try to struggle with it and somehow learn it, and then come as a knowledgeable person. Once the knowledge is there, it's very easy for the industry to develop other skills that are needed. And once you keep on struggling with this real world problem, real world issues, then after some time you can be a competent engineer. That is your real graduation, right? When you feel that you are confident, that's your real graduation. So that's my final word for this whole young budding undergraduate, young budding engineers.
Thank you for that. I think you touched upon many areas and topics in depth during this discussion. So thank you, Mr. Jagat, for your wise words, views, and also for inspiring the audience this evening. To value your time and effort put into making this event a great success, we would like to present you with this digital token of appreciation. Mr. Jagat, please accept our wholehearted gratitude.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at a few upcoming events in IEEE Young Professionals.
We strive every day to make sure our mission is actually to help people make progress in their lives.
Hi everybody, I'm Verna from UPSKILL Sri Lanka. Overall, I believe that the IEEE Young Professionals Career Fair is a great event hosted by the organization.
ADL is a subsidiary of Dialog Asiata. We have the IoT, big data, and data analysis stack, so that students can concentrate more on those areas. I'm asking all the students, please concentrate on technologies like IoT, big data analytics, and Java, mobile based, all the platforms. You have the opportunity in ADL.
It's a nice event that IEEE stood for, so we're actually happy to be part of it. At the same time, we interview a set of people from different institutes as well. Yeah, it's a good place for us to meet those people and talk to them. Overall, it's a nice event. Thank you very much for organizing such an event. Wish you all the best.
It's really good because we get students all over the island, like from all the universities. It's really good. We can interview all of them at once. Yeah, it's really good.
And they have good potential. They have a lot of potential. Good potential. Most of them are they are not nervous and they are fluent speaking everything. They are performing well. They have good potential.
We are basically specialized in human resource information, not only that, so many other products as well. So we are an indigenous company operating in Sri Lanka and so many other countries as well. So I would like to thank you IEEE for inviting us for this career fair. This is the first time that we are coming here. So it's been like a awesome experience for us to visit here and together with students and get details about them.
So, we are industry innovation, and we mainly develop software for Indian market and set up to Swedish clients as well. And we are using cutting-edge technologies.
We were very happy to join the IEEE used to pro program this year, and the feedback and the participation that we got from the students was very good, and we did find quite a lot of prospective good candidates. Students were well informed previously about the kind of opportunities that are available and what the company is doing in its domain. It will be better for them to filter out which company they want to work.
With that, we have reached the most anticipated part of the evening where we will be announcing the winners of the gaming session, which is on day one of Upskill. We were glad to see the enthusiasm and engagement you all showed and appreciate you guys participating actively in all the games. I'm sure you guys had a wonderful time interacting. Now it's time to reveal who emerged as the winners out of the 22 teams we had. To announce the winning teams, I would like to invite Supun Hansika representing the organizing committee. Supun, over to you.
Okay, thank you guys. So I have to say all the teams have done a great job, and it was obviously tough to finalize the winners because you guys have actively participated in each game. It's like almost all the teams complete the game. So okay, without further ado, let me announce the final winners. Okay, so I started with the first runner. Okay, so the second place. Any guesses? You can put it in the chat box. Come on, guys. That's it. Who is the first runner up? Okay, team 20. Seems like team 5, team 8. Okay, let me say the first runner up goes to team 15. Okay, guys, so congratulations, team 15, for the amazing teamwork in the network session. Okay, let's move on to the winners. Who will be the winners of Upskill? Okay, who will be the winners of networking session Upskill Sri Lanka 2021? You can use the chat box, guys. So hurry up, teammate, teammate. It seems like a teammate. Okay, team 1, team 20. Who will be the winners? Okay, let me say the winner is Upskill Sri Lanka 2021 networking session. The winner is team 3. Congratulations, guys. So all of us give a virtual round of applause to team 3. Guys, you have done amazing. Ritma, over to you.
Yes, my warmest congratulations to all the winning teams. We will be informing you about the prizes later. So that takes us to the end of the evening's proceedings. Last but not least, the invitation goes out to Janita Disanayaka, representing the organizing committee to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Janita.
Thank you, Litma. Good evening, everyone. It is my privilege and to have been given to this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. Upskill Sri Lanka 2021, organized by IEEE Sri Lanka section, Young Professionals Affinity Group, in collaboration with IEEE Region 10, Young Professionals, with the aim of developing soft skills and encouraging participants to think in a modern way about their career perspective. After attending the event, I hope you all gain many important things for your career path as well as for your life. Also, I hope all of you enjoyed the event and gain new opportunities to make new friends. I must also convey my sincere gratitude to our guest speakers, Mr. Ranishka Vimalasena, Dr. Chandika Vikramatilaka, and Mr. Jagat Vikramasekara for your valuable participation in the event. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to grace the event and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. And I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Pasan Pathiagoda for moderating this event and making it a grand success. I also wish to acknowledge the IEEE Sri Lanka Section Young Professionals Executive Committee for your guidance and advice made this event colorful. And I also would like to thank the organizing committee of the UPSKILL Sri Lanka 2021 and all the winners for the support and effort you gave to make this event a success. I would also like to congratulate all the winners as well as the others for your active participation. Thank you again for joining with us. Apologies for who I missed mentioning. Our path to success is not always easy. It's full of obstacles and difficulties, and we fall down. But what matters is we rise up and keep on moving forward. Once again, thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Janita. Now that Upskill 2021 has come to an end, we will be sharing a small form to collect your valuable thoughts as feedback on the event, and you will find the link to it in the chat now. As you have arrived at the end of Upskill 2021, it is time to wrap things up. Upskill was a two-day event filled with exhilarating and insightful segments for all of us. I would like to thank each and every one of you for actively participating and bringing your energy with us till the end of this event. This would not have been a success without you. Last but not least, I should also mention the team behind this event who put great work and effort into making this event a grand success. With that, I wish you all the very best. See you next year. Until then, take care, stay safe. Good night. I'm Litma Pereira signing off for the day.